After almost 8 years of building its universe and establishing many of its superheroes, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has once again put together almost its entire roster of heroes into one movie in order to bring the Civil War arc, one of the biggest game-changing conflicts in the entire history of Marvel, to the big screen. Whilst the film is at times clustered, the Russo brothers have successfully created a blockbuster driven by a very personal conflict, while still delivering on some of the greatest action sequences of the franchise so far. After a mission goes wrong and several civilians end up being killed, a proposal is put forward to place the Avengers and all its heroes under government control, which divides the Avengers into two factions. On the one side is Captain America, played once again by Chris Evans, who after the events of Captain America Winter Soldier is distrusting of government interference, and believes the Avengers are most effective working independently. On the other side is Tony Stark, played once again by Robert Downey Jr., who after feeling responsible for the destruction caused by Ultron, believes that even the Avengers need to be kept in check. But during all this, a villain named Zemo, played by Daniel Bruhl, hatches a plan involving Cap's former friend Bucky, played by Sebastian Stan, to further this divide between the Avengers. This causes the Marvel heroes to choose their respective sides, with each having their own personal motives and reason for who they side with, all colliding against one another in an all-out brawl. To the film's credit, the inclusion of all these superheroes never distracts from the core conflict between Captain America and Iron Man, with their emotional conflict always remaining the centerpiece of the film. But at the same time, every cast member gets their own moment in the spotlight. Whether you want to see scenes exploring the relationships between various Avengers, or just fun moments like seeing Ant-Man being shot off one of Hawkeye's arrows, this film will have something for any fan of the Marvel Universe to enjoy. Although out of the film's massive cast, the biggest standout of the film is Tom Holland as Spider-Man. Whilst he only has around 10 to 15 minutes of screen time, it's already clear that Tom Holland has the potential to be the best Spider-Man yet. He's able to pull off both the awkward but charming Peter Parker and the fun, quick-witted web-slinger better than either Maguire or Garfield were ever able to do. Plus, Holland works incredibly well off all the other heroes, particularly with Robert Downey Jr., as he and Holland appear to share a very natural chemistry with one another whenever they're on screen together. The only drawback of Spider-Man in the film is that at times the CGI appears very unnatural, looking a lot more like a video game character than he does a natural person. Nonetheless, it was a great reintroduction of the character. It didn't need to rehash the origin story that we're already far too familiar with, and is another great addition to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. However, just like too many superhero movies lately, by having so many different characters to juggle at the same time, the movie does feel clustered, and some plot lines don't end up getting the attention that they deserved, leading them to feel very underdeveloped. Probably the worst effect of this is the Black Panther's origin story. It's a really interesting story about honor and revenge, which on its own would have been enough to fill up an entire film. But here it just doesn't get the time it needs, and thus his origin story ends up feeling completely wasted. It's a shame too, since it's the first time the character's actually been introduced in any film, and it could have been a great backstory if the film had actually had the opportunity to properly develop it. Plus, Chadwick Boseman gives a great performance in the short time he's actually given a chance to. Hopefully a standalone film should be a better opportunity to give the character the attention it deserves, because he certainly didn't get it here. Plus, as usual with Marvel movies, the villain is probably the weakest character in the film. It's a shame too, because Daniel Bruhl is a great actor, but the character is just entirely forgettable since he does nothing interesting throughout the entire film. Also, his plan for getting the Avengers to fight one another relies a lot on luck and convenience, making his character even weaker. Whilst I did have a few problems with some of the film's action sequences, for example, some scenes really suffer from an overuse of fast-paced editing, such as this scene with Iron Man against the Winter Soldier, where because of the fast-paced editing it never really feels like any of the hits are actually making an impact. For the most part, the fight scenes have the same exciting tone and focus on practical effects that the Russo brothers demonstrate in Captain America Winter Soldier. However, the one standout scene in the film is the airport sequence, which sees both sides of the conflict and all the heroes colliding together in an all-out brawl. I won't say anything specific about what happens in the fight, since it does have a lot of great surprises that shouldn't be spoiled, but it does just about everything that you'd want to see from these characters fighting each other, and is one of the crowning achievements of the Marvel Cinematic Universe so far. It's up there with their first fight in New York in the original Avengers movie. It is that good. The only downside is that this scene is so incredible that afterwards the rest of the film ends up feeling fairly underwhelming in comparison. Also, the film does shy away from some of the darker aspects of the original Civil War storyline from the comics, and the movie doesn't really seem to do anything that we haven't seen from the other Marvel movies before. Whilst the conflict between Captain America and Iron Man is an interesting one, the snappy back and forth between both sides, whilst fun and enjoyable, does lead to the clear impression that neither side will be willing to take the fight too far. Thus, the overall stakes of the film are significantly reduced. Saying this, Captain America Civil War does just about everything audiences expect and want from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's funny, it's exciting, and it continues to explore the characters that have remained at the core of the Marvel Universe since its inception. On top of this, the Russo brothers have demonstrated once again that they are ready for the task of taking on the next Avengers movie, and reinforces the fact that Marvel is not going to be slowing down anytime soon.
I could do this all day.
All right, I've run out of patience. On to roost!
Hey everyone,